Well, hey there, everybody. It's Chris from the Rate the Record podcast. A little late in the week. It's Saturday by the time I release this. Oops, sorry. But anyways, it's time for the new music review. I have some ears and opinions. You have some ears and opinions. I also have 3 new songs for us to check out. So let's combine our ears and opinions and talk about new music for the new music review. Let's jump into it. It feels so weird to have this microphone here just kind of in my face. New setup, I guess. Okay, so first up on the list, we have Greta Van Fleet, a rock band from Frankenmuth, Michigan. That's a weird name. I've never heard of that place before. But anyways, they have a brand new album. I believe it's their 3rd album called Starcatcher, coming out July 21st, 2023. They just dropped a new single not too long ago called Meeting the Master. So I guess I'll just start with this review by saying that by now, especially with Greta Van Fleet, it's kind of a tired cliche to say that these guys are revivalists. Obviously, they sound a lot like Led Zeppelin, especially if you go back to their older stuff. But here they are with a 3rd album on the way, and yet they still haven't really found a decent original sound. So I don't really know what to think too much of this band. I've tried giving them a chance in the past, didn't care too much, so let's see what this 3rd album can do. It's nearly a 5.5-minute track, and a good first half of the song is pretty clean, quiet stuff. The acoustic tones are really good, super clean and pretty. There's also stereo dubbing on the guitar, and like you can kind of hear it overlay on the left and right. It actually sounds really good. I like that. It's very pleasing to my ear, so we're off to a good start. As I said, the song rides pretty quietly for a little while. That is up until the halfway point. That's when you get your pickup, and so this song at least has various forms of life to it, so there's much more to expect. I will say this song has nice chord progressions. I really like how it kind of just flows very smoothly. There's a lot of like bluesy guitar passages as well. They sound really good, especially with the solos mixed in. But I will say overall this probably isn't very exciting though. It feels like the song has potential to sound very big, and maybe in the context of the rest of the album it does. But, you know, in this one, I'm not getting too much from it, and I'm not getting super energized about it. Overall, it's decent. Again, not exciting, but certainly not awful. It's generic, a little predictable, but that doesn't make it a bad song, though, so, I mean, give it a try. Next up on the list, we have the band Wednesday. They're from Asheville, North Carolina. They have a new album called Rat Saw God, and it dropped back on April 9th. The first single to come out from that is called Hot Rotten Grass Smell. What a title. And of course, knowing me, the title is what actually drew me in. I may have judged a book by its cover, but I also may have judged a song by its title. This feels like alt-rock straight out of the 90s, and I'm surprised Savannah hasn't come across this one yet, just for that sake alone. This has a very grungy, almost lethargic feeling to it, although it kind of goes in a couple different directions and feels like I don't want to say avant-garde, but it's not just straightforward rock. You have these very crunchy, grungy guitars mixed with these very sleepy style of vocals, and it really puts the song in that 90s time period, as I just hinted at a moment ago. It is well produced though, because the production feels very big and present, if that makes any sense at all. Nothing really feels hidden in the mix anywhere, and anything that needs to get out gets out, so at the very least, like, nothing feels like overdone, underdone. It's all there. I like it. But with that said, there isn't much to this track. It does have some loud passages, which is good, but nothing to really show for itself in its short runtime. This is only a minute and 35 seconds, so you can't expect too much, but at the same time, it's kind of like you need enough, though, and it doesn't feel like it quite gives me that. Overall, it's kind of passable. I mean, again, not awful, but it's not really all that fantastic either. I'd be curious to check out a few other tracks, and maybe it can give me more than this, so, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll check out more of Wednesday soon enough. And finally, on the list, we have Mudhoney, a band that formed back in 1988, and they just released their 11th studio album, Plastic Eternity, and they just released a single from that album called Almost Everything. So speaking of songs that feel like they come right out of a certain period of time, this one also feels like it came out in like the 90s or early 2000s alt-rock scene. And given Mudhoney's history, that's very understandable. For the most part, this track has a very steady bass that's very easy to ride along with, and then you have these hand drums in the background that add some interesting life to the track, so already it's kind of intriguing in the beginning. Not too exciting, but intriguing nonetheless. We get about a minute and a half through this song, and by that point, the verse is, I think, just coming to an end. There's not really a discernible chorus, I think. Just a lot of verses. By that point, I realized the verse had overstayed its welcome. It's the same thing for that nearly minute and a half, and then there's a small instrumental break, verse comes back, small instrumental break, although that break might be the chorus, I can't tell. It's not that exciting, though, so I'm just stuck with these verses for a long time, and I don't know, it just gets a little stale. The best part of these verses are the interjection of this, like, sharply distorted guitar that happens for about 10 seconds, and if you're using headphones, it comes out of the right ear. I like that. I thought that was cool because it kind of goes on top of the other guitar that's going through the other track, but if that's the most exciting thing about the track, we have a problem. Everything is still pretty bouncy in this song though, so it stays fun and feels pretty lively throughout, so that's the least I can say about it. The only thing that feels like anything of a different chorus, or just a chorus in general, comes like at the very end of the song, but it literally just feels like a verse in a different key. So again, it doesn't really add anything exciting, it doesn't change anything up, and it just feels like a 4.5 minute like drag of the same thing. As fun as this song can feel, it gets stale far too quickly. If this was a 2-minute track, I think this would work, but being nearly 4.5 minutes, it's not working for me, unfortunately. Overall, I like the energy, I like the pacing, but aside from the first 30 seconds, I don't feel like I get much from this, so I can't exactly give this a thumbs up. I won't give it a thumbs down, but we're in the middle of the road somewhere. Wow, 3 very mediocre reviews this week. I'm not glowing about any of these songs, and it's the first time in a long time that I felt this way about all 3 tracks I did in the NMR. But with that said, that's just my opinion. Now I want to know yours because we're at the end of the NMR. So let me know down in the comments below of what you think of these tracks. Very curious to discuss them. Maybe you love them way more than me. Maybe you love these bands way more than me. Maybe you hate this more than me. I don't know, but I am curious to discuss it considering that mine were very middle of the roads, way too safe all throughout. So please, let me know down in the comments below. What did you think of these songs? And of course, you can let us know on our social medias as well, at Rate the Record Podcast, over on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But all of those links and more, including all the streaming links for our podcast, can be found over at ratetherecord.ca, so make sure you check that out, because there's plenty to see over there, so please check it out. Hey, and Rate the Record Podcast, the thing I just mentioned, yes, of course we have a podcast. A brand new episode comes out every Monday. We're getting close to the end of season 4, but we still got things coming and going. This past Monday, Savannah, for some reason, chose the Buggles, and if you don't know who the Buggles are, you definitely know Video Killed the Radio Star. Regardless, that song's on the album that we covered. Did we like the album? Did we hate the album? Can you tell by my voice, like how I felt about it? If you can't, you might want to check it out. Even if you don't like the Buggles, please check the episode out. It's probably one of the funniest episodes that we have made on the show, so I think you'll have a good time regardless, so make sure you check that one out. It's fantastic. And with that said, we're at the end of the video, so once again, thank you very much for joining me for this NMR. Make sure you come back on Monday for the podcast. Next week there'll be another NMR. Always content to check out, so do that. One more time, thank you very much. Go listen to some awesome music. We'll see you again real soon. Take care, friends.